Hello, and welcome to Immigration Talk, a space where we hear from an expert on matters related to the immigration industry, law and policy, and practice. I'm Rosalie Van Staldeinen, and joining me is RCIC Joe Kenney. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe, what are some of the challenges that are being experienced as a result of the category-based selection process? And what are some solutions that immigration practitioners could explore?
Yeah, it's become a very challenging environment for practitioners. We've gone through a period where the government selected fewer immigrants to apply for permanent residence. There weren't a lot of invitations sent out um, compared to other years in 2025. In 2026, they seem to be inviting more, but they are scattering them uh, through these different category-based selection occupations. So up until recently, there was about a half dozen categories. Now there's several more. All of them are occupation-based, except for the French language proficiency one, which is the one that gets the most invitations. Beyond that, you have healthcare and social services occupations, STEM occupations, science, technology, engineering, math, trade occupations, education occupations, transport occupations, physicians with Canadian work experience, senior managers with Canadian work experience, researchers with Canadian work experience, and finally, skilled military recruits. So these last four, I think, are fairly new. And when you look at them, education occupations, well, it's not all education occupations, it's a few. Sometimes the list is very short under each category. Sometimes it's a dozen occupations. So you have to look under each category to find out which specific NOC codes will be targeted, will be invited as a result of a category-based draw. So this expansion of the category-based draws coincides with the government talking about a TR to PR category. And if you heard what the minister said, I think earlier this month, this may be the TR to PR category. There's a lot of interest among applicants out there wondering when is TR to PR going to be introduced, expecting something similar to what happened around COVID, where they just basically invited almost everybody in the pool. That's not going to happen this time, I don't think. What the minister said, they've already started the program. They've soft launched the program, and I think that what that means is that some of these recent categories that have been added are part of the TR to PR application. So the problem with this category-based application is, one, as I said, the categories can be very narrow. It can be maybe just one or two NOC codes. And the other thing is, we don't know when they're going to do draws in different categories. So we've seen, recently physicians, they did a draw for physicians. I think they've done draws for senior managers or researchers. But some of these categories, like trade occupations, it goes many, many months, and there's no category specific draw for those occupations. So as a practitioner, you're left with wanting to know when these draws will happen, but that information is not available. So you just sort of have to try to keep your clients ready for whatever happens. So my advice to clients and my advice to practitioners right now would be, if you have a client that's interested in permanent residence and they have experience related to any of these categories, the best thing they can do at the moment is get an express entry profile up there. And if they're interested in TR to PR, same thing. They need to have an active express entry profile. Once the draw is made in a specific category, it may not happen for another 6 months or 12 months. So if the client doesn't have an existing express entry profile, they could miss their chance. So if this is TR to PR, I expect there would be more categories introduced, in the next month or two. But we're not entirely sure because the minister hasn't really been all that clear, and I don't know if even the policy has been finalized in Ottawa. But this is what we're left with at the moment. It's a challenging environment where we don't know what's going to happen. There's no predictability in terms of cutoff scores or dates of draws. So the best thing you can do really is have your clients' profiles up there so that if there is a draw that is relevant to them, that they'll get invited, hopefully. This is a big sort of switch from what Express Entry was supposed to be about. It was supposed to be about ranking everybody in the pool and then picking the highest scores based on their human capital factors, their language, their education, their work experience, Canadian work experience, their spouse's qualities, etc., their age. Now we've gotten to an environment where the government is sort of saying, well, we need certain types of human capital over others, or we need certain types of work experience over others, and that's the environment where we seem to be moving towards, which is kind of goes back to when I was just starting out as a practitioner in this business. You had a list of occupations, and if you weren't on that list, then you weren't able to apply for permanent residence. And so it seems like they're moving back to that area where they're kind of micromanaging the labor market and trying to get certain occupations through the door ahead of other people. We'll see how it works. From a practitioner standpoint and an applicant standpoint, it is a very uncertain environment. And I don't think overall that helps, because people who are professionals, who are in healthcare, science, technology, engineering, math, education, physicians, etc., they want to be able to plan their life with some kind of certainty and some kind of predictability. And if you just sort of put it up in the air for them and say, well, this might happen at some date, but we're not going to tell you when, that might not be the best approach to attracting the best people to Canada. So, I think there should be a little bit more predictability in the system with regard to what's coming down the road. We're not seeing that, but like I said, in the meantime, all we can do is make sure that our clients are in the pool and are eligible for any invitation that might come in the future based on a general Canadian experience draw or even a category specific draw.
Well, thank you, Joe, for your analysis of the current challenges facing the category-based process system, and for also sharing some helpful tips and strategies for overcoming those challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's talk again.